gets a day off today. So I have the good pleasure of introducing our guest speaker, Sharon Sinclair. As many of you know, Sharon has been coming to Fairhope for several winters as a snowbird on her migratory flight to escape the frigid Canadian winters. Boy, were they frigid. This year, she was awarded the honor of being Fairhope's Writer-in-Residence for January, a position that acknowledges her work as an accomplished poet and speaker in Canada. Along her circuitous path through a variety of occupations, Sharon has always quietly pursued her true identity as a poet. This creative persistence was recognized by her municipal government's appointment in 2017 as a poet laureate to celebrate Canada's 150th birthday. The Legacy Project, associated with her role, culminated in a book in which residents there submitted stories about people, places, and things that had improved the quality of their lives in a rural community. Sharon conceived of that project and was the editor of a 490-page book called Gray with a Silver Lining. She is graciously donating a copy to our Unity Library. The book is filled with heartfelt stories as well as poetry that Sharon created for special events throughout the year. We are delighted she can be with us today to bring us her uplifting message. Sharon?
Thank you, Dave. I thought for this part of the message I'd like just to be down here, so I just want to check if the sound is okay. You can hear this? Good. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for coming. Your presence means the world to me. And whether you are here from a distance or you come right from Fairhope, welcome to each one of you. And I hope that there's something that will resonate with you this morning that I have to share. A friend was asking for the time of the event, and I assured him it was in the morning because he thought that was a good idea because you'd have to be pretty big to go up against the Super Bowl. So I'm really glad that on a busy day you found time to come today. Thank you, Shirley, and thank you, Unity, for the honor to be your guest speaker. I like how you start. Not sure this is.
Yes.
Is that good? I like how you always start with a prayer because not only does that set a great tone for the morning, but it also fulfills a Bible verse that has come to mean a lot to me, and that is Proverbs 3, verse 6. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. And I was delighted a few years ago to find that verse inscribed on a bracelet in a little shop here called In the Company of Angels. So please look around you for a minute because we are in the company of angels today, both heavenly and human. One of my favorite expressions is by Luciano de Crescenza, and he says that we are each of us angels with only one wing, and we can only fly by embracing one another. So thank you for embracing me so warmly when I come to Fairhope. And to give something back to you, I thought I would bring a Canadian prayer. This was by a Canadian named Chief Dan George. You may be familiar with him. He's an actor, a writer, and the chief of a nation on the Burrard Inlet in British Columbia. Have any of you ever been to the Burrard Inlet or in British Columbia? It's a very beautiful place as well. So I invite you to bow your heads with me, and we will listen to the prayer through the words of Chief Dan George. O great Spirit, whose voice I hear in the wind, whose breath gives life to the world, hear me. I come to you as one of your many children. I am small and weak. I need your strength and your wisdom. May I walk in beauty. Make my eyes ever behold the red and purple sunset. Make my hands respect the things that you have made, and my ears sharp to hear your voice. Make me wise, that I might know the things you have taught your children, the lessons you have hidden in every leaf and rock. Make me strong, not to be superior to my brothers, but to be able to fight my greatest enemy, myself. Make me ever ready to come to you with straight eyes so that when life fades as the fading sunset, my spirit will come to you without shame. Amen. And, I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about my own faith journey. I don't attend any particular church when I'm in Canada, but if someone were to ask me, what is your religion? I would answer without hesitation that I'm Christian. And I think I've known that for about 40 years, following an experience that maybe some would classify as a born-again experience. But to me, it was more aptly expressed in words by E. Cummings, 2 lines at the end of one of his poems. And he says, "Now the ears of my ears awake, and now the eyes of my eyes are opened." And that's what that experience did for me. I felt that I was fully awake to the reality of Christ consciousness. And I think that during the time I've been in Baldwin County, I've gone to a lot of different churches, and they each had something very important to offer. But it was when I came to Unity that I really felt a sense of being home and very comfortable with the concept. So I don't think that we're very far apart in our belief system. And I will be referring to the divine mind today by the term God. When I was picking up a notebook to come bring with me this year, this one caught my eye, and I don't think you'll be able to see it really, but there's an old-fashioned bicycle in the background. And the inscription is, "Life is like a bicycle. In order to keep your balance, you must keep moving." And a bicycle is how I do move through Fairhope. That and walking and all the kind rides people give me. And I'm very grateful to you, Alex, for keeping my bike safe when I'm back in Canada. So I'd like to start with a little story about riding my bicycle up in Canada. For a number of years, I had a house in a very beautiful valley called the Beaver Valley. And in the mornings, I would get up and I would ride the bicycle in that early morning magical time. And this one morning, I'm going down a road called the Lower Valley Road. And it eventually comes to a very sharp curve. And after the curve, there's a very steep hill. But just before you get to the curve, there's a beautiful property and a big pond, so lovely. And there are 2 swans that live on the pond. And that morning they're swimming gracefully along, and a heron came and landed on the pond. I'm very fond of herons. And it was just so peaceful and lovely. So I rounded the turn, and I never get very far up the hill, but I get far enough that when you turn around, you can coast back down again, and it's lovely, exhilarating. So I was doing that. When I came to the bottom, I put on my brakes, and the most raucous sound came from my bicycle, and I realized and remembered that I was supposed to take it in for a tune-up, but I had neglected to do so. And you can imagine what happened. The swans got all ruffled and all bothered, and the heron flew off, and it totally destroyed the moment. But it made me think, how many things in our life need to be regularly maintained, and what happens when we don't do that? We maintain our homes, our bodies, our automobiles, but do we spend very much time on maintenance of our spiritual health? So an idea came to me because I used to commute a very long distance from that valley to my job in Toronto, and I was really reliant on my car. So I took it faithfully for all those regular inspections. And even if I was just going in for an oil and filter, they always assured me that they did a 10-point checkup. So that gave me, confidence on my long trips. So I thought today we'd maybe do a 5-point checkup, and we would look at the analogy of a car. So, number 1, how are your brakes? Do you sometimes rush headlong into conflict and find that you just don't have the ability to keep a lid on things? Maybe you go too fast sometimes, not applying the brakes frequently enough, and that you miss a lot of things that are going on that are so beautiful. 2, how are your shock absorbers? When you get tossed about by life, do you feel that you have no buffer, Or can you go through that interval of time feeling a sense of ease, like you're riding a carpet of comfort? 3, how is your windshield? Is it clear, or does it seem to have a dark film upon it? And those stones that get inevitably cast against us, are you able to withstand that, or do they end up shattering your confidence? 4, how about your mirrors, especially the rear view mirror? What do you see when you look in the rear view mirror? And 5, how about insurance? Do you have adequate insurance? Not just for your earthly journey, but for all time. The idea of comparing our lives with this type of automobile concept came to me when I used to take my mother for her checkups, and she would be in her 80s, and her doctor would always say to her, "Oh, Margaret, you're good now for another 50,000 kilometers." And that's that weird way of measuring we have in Canada. I never did really go metric, but you can appreciate that's quite a long distance. So she always felt better. And actually, he was the only doctor that ever said to me when I was going into surgery that, "I will pray for you." And I thought, what a wonderful combination of medicine and spirituality. So let's take a bit longer look at the breaks. Have you ever been in a situation where you were in a period of conflict with someone, and it made you very angry, and you expressed that anger in a way that really wasn't very productive for anybody, and what were the results of that action? I think that anger is a very natural human emotion, and it's actually very helpful. It can help us identify when boundaries are being broken, or just something that needs to be changed. But I think the important thing is, how do you express the anger? Because you have a choice in how you're going to express it. But where do we go for help to get hold of that ability to do that? I remember in a psychology class hearing that depression was repressed anger, and anger was repressed fear. And I thought, well, I wonder what fear is repressing. And I think that the fear represses our faith. We forget that we can draw all kinds of strength from our divine mind, and that we simply have to ask for that. And I think that there are wonderful resources out there, psychologists, who can help us with anger management. There are very specific techniques that can help us, and I think that's a God-given resource. And spiritual leaders are very comforting. Sometimes just talking to your minister can really help you through a situation. Just talking to a good friend can often be all we need just to diffuse that anger, so that we don't destroy relationships that are really very meaningful to us. And don't forget that we can go directly to the manufacturer. I think that in the world of the automobile, once that product rolls off the line, they're really not that interested in seeing you again until it's time for a new vehicle. But apparently our manufacturer wants us to come to him with any minor complaint. He will always be there. So we need to remember that, and to not turn away from God in our anger, but in fact to go there for help and repairs. Okay, how about our shock absorbers? Sometimes I think the only thing that can bring us comfort when we go through a really rough period in our life is the knowledge that we are not alone. And that was brought very close to me when my brother was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he was in the hospital in Toronto. We had an opportunity to have him evaluated by someone who would take terminal cases. And unfortunately for my brother, it was too late for him. But during that week he was down there, everybody did their job, and then they raced to the hospital, and they came back, and I'm sure all of you have some indication of how exhausting such a thing is. So I fell into a sleep, and in my sleep I had a dream. I dreamt that I was in a desert, and the sands kind of started to take shape to be a vase or a vase. I'm not sure how it is pronounced here, but you know what I mean. And then that disintegrated into a board, like a board that you would write on. And people were asking questions of the board, and I wanted to turn. And my question was, why is there so much suffering in this world? And the answer came back to me. I could see it like it was yesterday. It was spelled in white, script writing, and it said, "Go on, I am with you." And a lot of people might think, well, that was a nice little dream from your imagination and, brought about by fatigue. But to me, it was absolute communication with the divine, and it helped me so much to get through that awful period. So I think that, again, we just have to get our strength from our spiritual center, no matter what we are going through. And that help is there, we just have to ask for it. With the windshield reference, do you sometimes feel really that you can't see very far ahead in your life, that there's a cloudiness there, a film that just makes everything very unclear? Or do you go through quite confidently that you have a path, a purpose in your future and you can see it there? I know that one of the things that apparently is very helpful to us when we feel that sense of being lost is to look for spiritual, uplifting ideas, because that will help dispel the darkness. There was a survey done one time with people who are widely regarded as being very successful in their life. And they were asked, to what do you credit your success? And without exception, they said that they spent some part of each day with inspirational ideas and reading. And that can come to us from so many different sources. Certainly, for myself, I find inspiration in poetry to remind myself that the future is okay. And you might find it in the Bible, or you might find it in other avenues that just bring you comfort, and take some time out and research that. Helen Marshall said this about dreams. She said, "A dream is a high and lovely thing, a heart-flown kite on the winds of spring. Buoyant and bright it hovers there, against the blue, almost a prayer, calling the spirit to broaden its scope of faith in the future and courage and hope, adding dimensions of height and girth to even the simplest joys of earth. If you have a dream, oh how lucky you are. Play out the string and let it sail far, but follow it ever so close with your eyes, for dreams have been known to be lost in the skies. Never lose sight of it, hold fast the string. A dream's a precious and wonderful thing." Sarah Teasdale reminds us that life has loveliness to sell. Music like a curve of gold, scent of pine trees in the rain, eyes that love you, arms that hold, and for your spirit's safe delight, holy thoughts that star the night. The Bible reminds us how important it is to follow that wisdom. It says, whatsoever things are good, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report. If there be any virtue and there be any praise, think on these things. Now, the rear view mirror. That's a tricky one. What do you see when you look in your rear view mirror? Are you confident about where you've been? Or just do you see so much upset that is keeping you from really appreciating your true worth? And I think it's really important at that time to listen to the monologue that runs through our brain, because even people with very good intentions can make us feel unworthy. And we really have to take a look at that and realize that we are perfect just the way we are. We have our flaws, but we are where we are supposed to be at any given time. And just to trust that all things work for good for those who love the Lord. And it is so very true, I think. When I start to feel very unsure about where I've come from, where I'm going, I think of a musical I attended once called Kids Under Construction. And there was a girl in my class helping me, and Amy had been a brilliant student and a very promising figure skater. But what happened to her was a terrible car accident with her family, and she was left legally blind, and also she had multiple handicaps, but she loved to sing. So she asked me to come to this performance that she was in. And the message was, God doesn't make any junk. We're all just projects under construction. And we need to trust that probably we'll always be under renovation. It'll be one of those projects that's never quite through. But we need to embrace ourselves and be thankful and also appreciative of where we've come through some pretty rough waters. So I know that there's a writer, Dr. Charles Allen, and he tells us about a book that he has written called God's Psychiatry. And he maintains that if we were to read the 23rd Psalm 5 times a day, just as you regularly as if you were taking medicine, that it would change your life because it's so powerful as affirmations. When you think that surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I mean, how comforting is that really? And that kind of brings me to the idea of insurance. In our earthly life, we insure so many things, our homes, our cars. Movie stars even insure parts of their body. And we even insure our pets. But have we given much thought to our afterlife insurance? And the way I look at it, if we really believe in Christ consciousness, then our premiums have been paid in full by the blood of Christ. Those premiums will never go up. We cannot be denied coverage based on any pre-existing condition. And nothing can ever separate us really from the love of God. It's just paid in full. And it seems to me that all we really have to do to qualify for those benefits is that we have to just try to do our best. Try to do our best to find our purpose and fulfill our purpose. Try to do our best to follow the advice in our manual, especially the advice that we love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. So simple, and wouldn't the world be so much different if we could do that? Just that. The idea of doing your best is also echoed in a book called The Four Agreements. Is anybody familiar with that book, Four Agreements? Well, the final agreement is for personal freedom and for inner peace. You just try your best. And some days our best is not going to really look too impressive. But as long as we're on the road to doing our best, I really believe that is what is required. There's a lovely writing called Desiderata that I'm sure many of our generation will know. And Max Ehrman alludes to that as well. Please, if you join me if you like, he says, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace with your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it's still a beautiful world. Be cheerful, strive to be happy. Strive, do your best to be happy. And what I have found the best way to do that is to live continually in a state of gratitude for the simplest little things. And once you start to look at the world that way, you find more and more things that you're grateful for, and that seems to create more and more happiness, so it's a beautiful circle. And when you're living in that circle, it's like you vibrate at a different energy, and it's that old law of attraction. You draw more to you to be grateful for. And not only that, but you become inspiring to other people. I keep a writing by my computer, and it says, ask not what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive. And then go to that, because what the world needs is people who have come alive. And I think that's what I find here at Unity, a whole group of people who are truly alive to the joy and the miracle of life. and I'm very grateful for the inspiration that you give to me. Now, Shirley has very graciously given me the possibility of doing a meditation with you. And I would love to try that because I have learned a lot from Shirley, and I've learned a lot from a spiritual webmaster named Kate Large about meditation. And I would like to put a little spin on it by doing it to some of my poetry after I have helped you to get into a state of relaxation. And this, years ago, when I was in university, I studied transcendental meditation, so that's very helpful. But there are many ways to approach meditation, and all I need from you really is that you let yourself be relaxed, not to the point of falling asleep, however, because that would not be good. I'm not even sure how to wake you up. But just so that you have a free mind and let my words paint images on the canvas of your imagination. What I want to read to you is something that's attributed really to Buddha. And he writes, Buddha was asked, "What have you gained from meditation?" He replied, "Nothing. However, let me tell you what I've lost. Anger, anxiety, depression, insecurity, fear of old age, and death." So I hope you lose some of those things when we do our meditation. I also want to give thanks to Sonny Brewer for permission to use the last line of his book called Sound Like Thunder. Because when I came across that line about reference to our hearts, I thought, well, that's really perfect. You know, that's what I want to have us do when we are getting relaxed. So I think I'll go up here. Maybe I'll have this. Okay. Okay, so first of all, I just want you to do a little imagining exercise with me. And when you are relaxing in your chair, I want you to see that the chair is sitting in your happiest place where that you have ever been. Now that might be still in your imagination, or it might be on a mountaintop, might be by a beach, by a lake, wherever you feel the most at one with the universe and truly deeply happy. And we're going to just do some deep breathing, first of all. And when we are breathing, we're going to ask ourselves questions. And don't worry, you don't have to have the answer. Apparently the universe will move us into the answer. So let's start with some deep breaths. You just take a deep breath in. Exhale. Deep breath in. Exhale. This time I want you to hold to the count of 4 if you can when you have that breath inhale. Just in big breath, hold the count of 4 and release. With this breath, I want you to be a breath of gratitude. I want you to feel deeply grateful and let that breath fill your lungs with gratitude. And in the state of gratitude, we are going to ask these questions. Just ask them silently. Like I said, don't worry about the answer. We'll be moved into the answer. Question number 1, who am I? What do I want? What is my purpose? What makes me happy? And as you kind of meditate on those questions, I want you to try to hear the beat of your heart or feel it as a sensation. And as you do that, as Sonny said, and I felt in the thump of my own heart a good deep resonance, free-born like thunder, and thought it refuge enough against my fears, sufficient haven for my dreams. Dear God, as another busy day unfolds, may I remember to look up, way up. If even for a moment, may my eyes search the sky for your signature. It's written everywhere, in the wisp of a cloud, in the brilliance of the sun, in the bold declaration of a shooting star. Today, please let my mind be at peace, secure in the knowledge that a hand greater than my own is daily issuing promissory notes, stamped with your flourish of grace and sent by airmail to my outstretched arms. Outside my window, a new day dawns, radiant with promise, a flower in full bloom. Let me savor the fragrance of each moment, keenly aware that time's fleeting beauty rests in my hands. Let me share my spirit garden with each soul I touch today. Let others find in me petals of joy scattered with abandon. Let me plant seeds of hope in unlikely places before the sun sets tonight on my grateful heart. Like pink cotton candy that flirts with the senses, elusive with sweetness that beckons for more. Like fresh mountain breezes that whisper their joy, in memories of beauty a heart hungers for. You make me remember the fragrance of lilacs that bathe me with wonder, a spirit made whole. With the comfort of waves as they break on the shore, you bring me your treasures for my outstretched soul. You are music and laughter and hologram magic, the sunset at evening with colors sublime. Like words from the poets that answer my longing, you are all precious moments suspended in time. Like magi bearing gifts of immeasurable worth, emerald waves carry glistening treasures in a watery embrace. The sky's golden beacon sends dazzling gems on a distant voyage, twinkling messages of truth and hope, wrapped in liquid light, shimmering, alluring, joyful travelers seeking open minds and grateful hearts to welcome them home. Divine Mind, please take all our worries out to sea, to the watery depths, and set them free. Imprison fears that quickly flee when courage grants them clemency. And in the call of the waves, I hear, I see, the white-tipped tongue of possibility, exploring the shores of creativity as the voice of comfort pardons me. And as you listen to that voice of comfort, please see yourself bringing your chair back to this beautiful sanctuary. Settle comfortably in the chair. Let your shoulders down. You are fully grounded now. You are ready for whatever challenge should come to you this week. Just give a few more breaths of gratitude. And with every breath, see divine light flooding through your body, touching every cell in your body. Healing energy, let it linger where there might be pain or discomfort. And let it emanate from you with Christ consciousness that will bring your special light to a waiting world. please open your eyes.